Hi there, my name is Brian Gall, and today I'm going to be walking you through 5 concepts that stem from our Psychology of Learning course and apply these concepts to my problem of practice, which is the role that teacher feedback plays on students' writing. Before we begin, I want to just provide a quick breakdown and overview of what to expect in this presentation. First, I will provide a thorough introduction and overview of my problem statement. And then after that, we will transition into concepts relevant to the role of feedback from our Psychology of Learning course. After going over the relevant concepts, I will then apply these concepts to the role that feedback plays, and ultimately end with a conclusion and a reference page. Through ongoing research, detailed readings, and engaging class discussions, certain topics and theories from psychology of learning distinctly resonated with my problem of practice. My problem of practice is twofold in its approach, as it centers on one, how secondary English teachers administer constructive feedback that aims to enhance the quality of students' writing, and two, how secondary English teachers measure the improvement of students' writing based on the initial feedback provided. Predicated on the current approach for my problem of practice, the pertinent concepts or theories covered in psychology of learning that apply to the targeted problem include andragogy, specifically valuing individual experiences, fixed versus growth mindset, grit, theory of margin, and cognitive apprenticeship, but specifically within cognitive apprenticeship is critical reflection. Crafting a cogent expository essay is a rigorous recursive process that demands teachers to guide their students throughout the interconnected stages of planning, organizing, drafting, and revising a written composition. While each stage incorporates a crucial step in the development of a student's essay, the sophisticated improvement of a student's writing ultimately stems from the quality of feedback received from the teacher. This was founded through Johnson 2013. According to Michael Deegan, students learn to write effectively when teachers require students to revise written work after thoroughly instructing them in the revision process. Although teacher feedback carries incomparable significance in the evolution of students' writing, a problem exists in that empirical evidence suggesting how instructors can best provide targeted, timely, and helpful feedback remains notably elusive. And this was particularly founded in Hattie and Temperley 2007. This problem is significant in that without understanding how to provide quality feedback to their students, teachers will struggle to positively impact their students' growth as writers. The main population impacted by this issue of targeted and constructive feedback and its effects includes high school teachers and students. The current research focused on teacher feedback on student writing tends to focus mainly on the students' perspectives, concentrating on how students measure the effectiveness of teacher feedback and how they internalize and apply such feedback to their writing. This was founded in Ferguson 2011 and Plank et al. 2014. This outline and presentation will focus on the teacher's perspectives regarding the role feedback plays on expository writing. The necessity for high quality teacher feedback is not debatable. Rather, what constitutes effective and quality feedback, how that feedback assists and impacts students' writing, and how teachers measure effective student use of the initial feedback remains in question. My plan of action is to research the addressed concepts or theories and unpack how these concepts or theories relate to my problem of practice concerning the role of teacher feedback. The first targeted concept deals with andragogy, specifically valuing individual experiences. This concept operates under the premise that individuals' learning experiences are inherently valuable and serve as a tool for engaging learners in their educational journeys. This is a clear principle outlined in Merriam and Bierma. Since engaging learners is a critical aspect of an educator's work, then understanding students' past experiences and receiving teacher feedback can benefit educators. In interviewing students about their experiences in receiving feedback, Plank et al. 2014 uncovered that students often experience confusion and frustration rather than understanding and clarity. Students felt as if their perspectives and insights were not adequately acknowledged, which negatively impacted how they approached their revisions. This study serves as a powerful reminder that students enter a classroom with a variety of positive and negative lived experiences regarding the impact that feedback has on their learning. And these experiences should be taken into account during the revision process. Before English teachers can truly value their students' individual experiences, they must first be aware of what these experiences are, both the wondrous highs and challenging lows that they've experienced. These experiences include how students have received feedback from their teachers and whether they found the feedback constructive in the revision process. This data collection would provide a window into the lived experiences students have upon receiving feedback, and the accumulation of such data could impact how teachers choose to approach particular students during the feedback stage of the revision process. In valuing students' experiences with feedback, teachers can then act on the survey results and allow such results to influence their approaches to students' writing. Extracting feedback from students' past experiences during the revision process can engage the students to lean into the process, knowing that their teacher has read and strived to understand how feedback comes across from students' perspectives. This approach of creating and sending a survey regarding students' experiences with feedback can also promote a stronger, more open student-teacher relationship, as students would be confident that the teacher is an advocate for them, understands their past, and supports them moving forward. The second targeted concept deals with fixed versus growth mindsets. According to Ormrod 2020, those who believe in a fixed mindset see intelligence and other general abilities as things that are relatively permanent and unchangeable. On the other end are advocates of growth mindsets, a view that indicates intelligence as skills that can develop and improve over time through sustained effort and practice. In cultivating growth mindsets among students, Truax 2018 determined that teachers' language, their verbal language and their written language, plays a pivotal role in developing these mindsets. In fact, verbal objective compliments toward the student increased writing motivation, encouraging even the most apathetic student to lean into the writing process and work to develop a stronger composition. Similar to cogent writing, growth mindsets do not develop in a vacuum, but require educators to celebrate effort, engagement, and focus in working toward a broader goal, such as completing a sophisticated piece of writing. As students enter the English classroom with a variety of lived experiences, some students may experience frustration in discovering that cogent writing takes a long time. Developing a growth mindset is critical in receiving and using feedback delivered by teachers because writing requires students to wrestle with complex questions, sentence structures, clarity, and cohesion. A growth mindset approaches writing with the understanding that improved, sophisticated writing demands an intentional use of time and knowledge of how to apply teachers' feedback to the revision. An accomplished piece of writing is an endeavor for students, and educators must keep in mind that students gravitate toward immediate results. Writing is more nuanced, which can be challenging for them to grasp. To help them grasp the complexity of applying feedback, English teachers must express positive and helpful language throughout the revision process, reminding students that, quote, not yet does not mean, quote, never. A colleague recently posted copies of his dissertation around his classroom, a composition smothered in red ink indicating the extent of revisions necessary to earn his degree. He informed me that this tangible example has, one, helped his students understand that feedback is an inevitable part of learning, and two, prompted students to ask deeper questions about what his suggestions on their feedback means, creating fruitful conversations about what goes into a stronger piece of writing. A growth mindset responds courageously to failure, and students need to see how their teachers, who are often the biggest advocates for growth mindsets, have responded to feedback along their educational journeys. The third targeted concept is grit. In accomplishing long-term goals, grit is foundational. Grit is the ability to overcome obstacles and persevere toward a goal through focused effort and determination. Overcoming obstacles and persevering toward a goal requires students to approach failure in a healthy and constructive way, one that encourages them to reevaluate how they internalize and respond to failure. When students can recalibrate their approach to learning by focusing on engagement and extracting meaning from a particular topic, then they are far more likely to activate a gritty approach and achieve their long-term goals, This is what von Koolen and al. Found in their 2014 study. Students need guidance and perspective in comprehending the meaning behind their writing. In other words, students need to understand why writing matters and its ongoing importance in most career paths. Failure is inevitable, but responding to failure constructively requires grit. Grit demands a constructive approach to writing, as students rarely compose a sophisticated first draft of writing. Grit requires students to take a step back from their writing, read the feedback provided by the teacher, and approach the revision process with an open mind, believing that they can produce a stronger composition. One practical tool English teachers can use to cultivate students' gritty approaches to writing is by showing written examples from past students, allowing current students to measure the progress made by students who leaned into the revision process from the initial expository essay to the final one. Another useful tool is to document students' frustrations when receiving feedback, as this repository can help current students understand that feedback is designed to develop the writer, not condemn the writer. Having exposure to previous students' past writings and documentation of how feedback can enhance the quality of their writing can serve current students in learning how to apply teacher feedback effectively to their essays and to motivate them to stay the course, even when it seems unbearable. The fourth targeted concept is theory of margin. McCluskey's theory of margin is a formula that addresses motivation as a measure of how many resources or power the learner has to offset the demands or the load that potentially diminish motivation for learning. Using this formula, one's margin in life in accomplishing goals increases when the resources available outweigh the load one carries. Students often carry a myriad of responsibilities outside of school, such as part-time jobs or even full-time jobs, extracurricular activities, you name it. These demands are far-sweeping and can limit their capacity to remain fully engaged in the writing process. It is important to note that margin does not refer to students' willingness to learn, rather their capacity to learn, since one's margin in life deals with how much time and effort a person can dedicate towards achieving a goal. If teachers desire for students to actively participate in the revision process and internalize the feedback provided to them, then they need to understand how students can make best use of their feedback. Knowing the student's context in life and the margin they carry can assist teachers in providing quality feedback. Teacher feedback on students' writing can only become effective if the students have adequate time to read, examine, and grasp the value of the feedback. The amount of time students have to internalize the teacher's feedback and apply it to their writing through the revision process depends significantly on students' margin in life. For instance, if a student has a full class load, athletics and extracurriculars, then he or she does not have a sufficient amount of time to meet with his or her teacher to receive quality feedback instruction. There are a few steps teachers can take to alleviate the challenges that students with a slim margin for feedback time. First, teachers can take inventory before the start of the year and seek the students' schedules, providing an opportunity for both the teacher and the student to determine proper times to meet. Second, teachers can adjust the way in which they deliver feedback on students' writing. This could include a voiceover feedback, in which case the teacher reads through the student's writing and verbally reflects on the quality of it. With the second option, a student can visit with the teacher after having listened to the verbal feedback. Teachers and students are confined by the commodity of time, yet teachers must be creative in finding ways to deliver quality feedback that can contribute to clearer, more effective student writing in the future. The final targeted concept is cognitive apprenticeship, specifically critical reflection. Cognitive apprenticeship is an approach to learning that allows for the learner to consider how he or she approaches a particular task at hand and advocates for the learner to consider how one can best achieve a particular task. The most relevant part for the context of my area of study is the critical reflection component, in which the mentor asks the learner to compare his other performance with that of an ideal model. Critical reflection demands strong, specific questions that generate new ways of thinking and evaluating the information and skills at hand. Kavdar and Doe, in a 2012 study, assert that critical reflection should not solely transpire at the end of a written composition. Rather, critical reflection through questioning and evaluation should guide a student's writing. For only when critical reflection is embedded in the writing process can writing serve as a vehicle for genuine learning. The goal behind cognitive apprenticeship is that the learner ultimately determines how he or she learns best without continual guidance from his or her apprentice. Before English teachers provide feedback on student writing, they can provide exemplary models of essays, allowing the students to determine what encompasses an effective essay. In addition to providing models for student writing, teachers can also provide guiding questions that students should ask throughout the writing process. Finally, feedback is directly tethered to a rubric. Before students submit an essay, or even begin an essay for that matter, they should be aware of what a mastery level essay includes. The feedback provided by teachers should stem from the expectations associated with the assignment and the rubric by which the student will be graded. If students can spend more time critically reflecting on the quality of their writing prior to submission, then the likelihood of teachers providing more specific and relevant feedback to the student's writing can potentially increase too. While feedback is a crucial component for students' writing, it does not have to be the final component, rather, an ongoing one that promotes and sustains critical thinking. Psychology of learning encompasses a vast range of theories and concepts that can provide a meaningful window into how individuals learn and how educators can reach these individuals, guiding them toward new intellectual achievements. Just as psychology of learning carries a vast spectrum of ideas, so too does the pedagogical realm of feedback and the role it plays on students' writing. The intention behind this outline was to apply 5 theories or concepts to the area of feedback in an attempt to address the role that feedback plays from different perspectives. Through this outline, I have learned that the targeted concepts provide an avenue through which I can approach my problem of practice, perhaps offering a unique and compelling perspective. As I continue to scale down my area of interest, one of these concepts could assist in providing a strong framework for my problem of practice. There are a variety of ways to address how teachers can provide concise, effective, intelligible feedback, and these concepts can impact how educators value, approach, and craft feedback for their students. And finally, on this last slide, you'll see all of my references that are documented in my outline and also documented within my presentation. Thank you for a fantastic trimester, Dr. Davis. I truly appreciate all your efforts. I really enjoyed your class, and I look forward to meeting you in person during immersion in February. Thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful Christmas with your family. Take care.